16 states and over 4,000 miles later, this is a summer that Spencer Buchness won't soon forget. He reached his goal of raising funds and awareness for pediatric heart disease by cycling from Ocean City, Maryland, all the way to San Francisco, California. Tonight, he joins us to talk about his journey and the importance of his mission. Welcome, Spencer.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here, and congratulations on, wow, such a huge
Crazy. It was wow, definitely
life achievement at such a young age. Just wow. We have a lot to dig into and find out about how your journey began. So.
Okay, great.
Ken, would you like to start off with Spencer?
Well, I guess the real big question on everybody's mind tonight is, why'd you do it? Tell us a little bit about the organization you're supporting by doing this ride.
Okay, I've always wanted to bike ride across the country, and I went to Save a Child's Heart, which is a nonprofit organization that brings in kids from third world countries like Africa, Europe, parts of the US even, kids that can't afford it, and they bring them in, they take care of them, they give them heart surgery, take care of them for about 9 weeks, they bring in doctors, train them, send them back so they can do surgeries. And once I was there, you meet the kids, and when I was there, they happen to be a lot from Ghana and stuff like that, and about 4 to 14 years old, and you can't give them your cell phones, and of course they take your cell phones. I have my DSLR camera, they take that, and they're running around taking pictures of me and everybody else there, and you kind of realize like their chance of survival was so slim, and it was like, kind of hits you. It's like you blink and like potentially, they're really, really lucky. So that kind of hit me, and I stayed after, and I asked, hey, can I raise money for you guys? And they said definitely. So I got in contact with the DC office, and we got it going, and then I took off in April.
Wow.
Awesome.
And I'm sure that the endurance and all of the trials and things that you had to go through to complete this this mission of yours, that you were keeping in mind of what you were doing and the suffering of those children.
Absolutely, that was a lot of motivation. As far as training goes, I rode around the block with my neighbor about 19 miles, and that was it. So
wow.
It was kind of
you just kept going.
learning as I went. So yeah, my dad always called me and said, how's training day 2, ride day 2? And that was kind of the big joke. So yeah, I did it, and I learned quick, that's for sure.
I have I'm so curious. Do you use GPS on a trip like this? How do you know where you're going?
Yeah, so I bought a Garmin, and I bought a Garmin to do the maps and stuff like that, and I had my phone as well. But across the country, the Garmin, the technology was kind of from 1992, so it's hard to read. And the phone, I lost signal between Google Maps and Strava and everything like that. So a lot of it, I'd had to call my dad. He was my right-hand man in the sky, and he's like, this is the way to go, and he'd lay me out a route, and that's how I did it. And as far as getting across the country, most people plan like years in advance how they're going to go, which roads, stuff like that. And I kind of went to bed at night, and I said, I'm going to go this way. Or if someone said, here's a cool museum, like I stopped at the Wizard of Oz Museum, I had no idea it was on the way. So I kind of like made a route based on what people said. And as far as my original map, I planned on going down to Tennessee. I quickly learned that it was so hot and the wild dogs, so I went up through Kentucky, and I went over, and then I was going to go up through Montana, and then in the middle of the country I meet a lot of people like, Montana's got bears and everything else, so I was like, yeah. So I cut it a little bit, and I went to Colorado instead, and I went up through Utah and Idaho, and to Oregon, and the Oregon coast, and I rode down to San Francisco.
Wow. What was your favorite state that you crossed?
My favorite state was Colorado.
Yeah,
it was absolutely beautiful.
Well, the altitude though is an issue, right? When you're getting to that part of the country.
The altitude was definitely something, that's for sure. Between Colorado to Utah, there was a stretch where I'm riding on this road, and it had a sign, no gas, for, if I can remember, 59 miles. And that means, so 59 miles is about 60 miles, and 60 miles on a bike is far too long to not be able to fill up your water and food and everything else. So that was tough, and I got a nosebleed when I kept climbing the mountains there. I got a headache, and it was rough. I called my dad, I drank a lot of water, ate all my snacks, and it's times like that you meet a lot of good people. So a kid about my age pulled over And here I am on the side of the road with no cars whatsoever in the desert. And he was like, hey man, you look like you need some water. And it's like, people like this on my trip really saved my life. Yeah.
Ron, do you have any questions for
When
Spencer?
I first read it, I thought that they left, I thought it was, wonder why they put R. I thought you was riding across the county. And then it says across country. At the very start, you have a problem, and that's going across the Chesapeake Bay Bridge, which you have to alternate, you know, make an alternate plan. How did you design, in theory or just in your own mind, you and your dad, of a trail that maybe you had to have some kind of an idea which way you was going to go, which you could change? What kind of a bicycle did you take? What kind of gear did you take with it? And where did you sleep at night?
Okay, so I started out in Ocean City, and we decided day 3, so after 2 days riding, my dad started with me. I would be back in Bel Air, and if anything needed to be changed, we'll change it there. So we took off from Ocean City, and I left on a Surly bike, a Surly long haul trucker, and I had 2 bags in the front, 2 bags in the back, a tent, I had everything, and it was heavy. I quickly learned, this training ride with my friend wasn't with all the weight, so this was a quickly learned thing. So I took off, we get back to Bel Air, I stripped a lot, threw a lot back on, because I was like, I think my camera's worth it, and all of my lenses and everything like that, because that's stuff that I enjoy. And I don't know, after that, it was day 3, I rode off. I left, my dad rode with me the first 2 days. Day 3, now it's on my own the rest of the way. So I rode about 3 days on my own, called my dad up, I was in Poolesville, Maryland, and I said, hey man, this is way too, it was one of those days I got stuck in the rain and everything like that. I got traffic too close, almost get hit, things like that. People don't give you 3 feet. So my dad drove out, and he said, man, this is it. This is the last time I can meet you. So he drove out, and I said, bring my road bike and bring some extra pannier bags. So we dumped all my stuff out behind the fire station, and we put it in new bags, and I took off with 2 bags in the front, and that was it. No tent. I figured I got couch surfing, and Warm Showers is an app for cyclists, places to stay, and cheap motels and Airbnb. So I was like, I'll figure it out. So I did that, and I was doing great for a long time, but then quickly, you have the Appalachian Mountains and the Blue Ridge Parkway and everything like that. So yeah, that was a lot. But as far as the bike goes, the Surly was like every son. I said, I want to get a nice bike to take. He said, hey, take mine. I said, man, I don't know. I want a nice bike. I want like a name I know. And he's like, do some research. I did some research. 9 out of 10 times they take a Surly. So my whole way across, over 4,000 miles, I had 1 flat tire. And this 1 flat tire was in Missouri. I was riding on a trail, and a stick went through my spoke and knocked off the little part that you fill up. And within that time, 5 minutes prior, this guy rode by, and he goes, hey man, I see your Maryland flag. I'm from Frederick. I said, no way. He said,
chances?
He said, I moved out here 10 years ago. And I said, no way. So I'm riding with him. We're talking for these 5 minutes. This is a trail. It's 240 miles off-road across Missouri. So you don't see cars. You don't see a lot of people. And right then, flat tire. He said, oh, I work at a bike shop. So he starts fixing my tire. I learned how to fix a tire 2 weeks before leaving. So it was pretty new to me.
Wow.
And it was crazy. And I ended up having I got the wrong spares before I left. So I didn't even have a spare to work. And the mosquitoes are coming up. It's about 7:30 p.m. He puts in his tire, and then and then he's like, it's 13 miles next town. You come in the next day at the bike shop, and I'll fix your bike up.
For heaven's sake.
Crazy. Yeah.
You must be one of the luckiest people. That's all I can say. So let me ask you. We're running short on time in this segment, but what's the one thing that you forgot to take along, besides the right spare tire, that you should have taken along?
One thing I wish I would have taken. Probably printed maps, to be honest. Yeah, probably a
Wow.
route that I would have
answer.
pre-planned, because some days it was rough. I learned quickly, and I even learned towards the end. So.
Awesome.
Well, Spencer, we have more questions to ask you about the organization itself, and we'll continue with you if you
Great.
could stay along. There is much more to come on Spencer's cross-country trip. We hope you will stay tuned.